Hello, my friends. Today we're learning Baba Basra Daf Nun Hey. We're going to start 5 lines down. Sholach le, Sholach le, Sholach Rav Huna bar Alvin. Rav Huna, the son of Alvin, sent the din. Yisrael shelokach sodem ovid kechovim. A Jew who bought a field from a ovid kechovim, from a goy. And before he gave him the money, and before he did a kinyan of a star, Israel acher v'ichzik bo, and then another Jew came and did chazaka in this field of the goy. The case we were discussing in the shia last shia. We keep it, we give it to the second Israel, like we said, because once he gave the money to the goy is mistalik, and it's like hefka now. Rav Abin, also Rav Abin said this, Rav Ila, Rabbi Seinu, and all the rabbis, Shovim Badovel, they all held the same thing, that the second one who went and did chazaka was koine of this field. Omar Rabba, says Rabba, Ani tlas mili, these three things, Ishtoili, I heard from Ukvan bar Nehemiah, who was Reish Galusa, Mishmei de Shmuel, in the name of Shmuel. What did he say? First of all, Dina de Malchusa Dina, that whatever the law, the non-Jewish law in the country they live in, that's the law they need to keep to. Varista de Parasoyad Mem Shonim, going to go over one chat in the Rashbam that we learned until now, the Chazaka is 3 years. In Persia, the din is that you only have chazaka after 40 years. And before then, if you lost your star, you lost the field, if the person says he never sold you the field. The Ani Zaruri, these rich people, the Zovin Aryeh taxa, so there is these rich people, and there's poor people who are not paying the land tax. So the rich people pay it for them, and then they take the field. So the Zovin Aryeh taxa, they buy the land by paying the tax. Zvina, the land becomes theirs, because the Dina de Malchusa is whoever pays the land tax belongs the field to them, and if the poor people are not paying, so the rich people pay for them, so they get the land. Says the Gemara, Vahani Mili, but this is letaxa, letaska, if they never paid the land tax, and the rich person paid, so then he gets the land. Abba lekarga, but for the tax that you pay on each one's head, nothing to do with the land you own, and let's say the poor person didn't pay his head taxes, and the rich person paid it for him, since such a case, and then he wants to take the field of the poor person because he paid for him his taxes, loy, then the rich person can't take the land. He only could take the land if he paid the land tax. But if he paid the taxes for the person himself, for his head, he can't keep the land. My time, what's the difference? Karga, the payment for each person that's not on the land. Karga the Gabri Monach, it's a responsibility on the person's head. The responsibility of him, and if he doesn't pay it, it's nothing to do with the land. But if the tax payment on the land, that's if you don't pay it, the king says the one who pays should get the land. Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua, Rav Huna the son of Rav Yeshua Omar, Afilu Sa'ari Dekoda, even the barley in the basket, in the cad, Mishtab de Karga. He argued and he says, we said the chilik between what taxes a rich person paid. If he paid the poor man's land, he could keep taxes, so he could keep the land. But if he paid his head taxes, he can't keep the land. So Rav Huna, the son of Rabbi Yeshua, says no. That if a person doesn't pay his head taxes, is everything, even the barley in his basket that's already not on the ground, is meshubad to the king to pay his taxes. And obviously his land is meshubad to the king to pay his taxes. Everything's meshubad. Any possession that is owned by this person is meshubad, and therefore if he didn't pay the taxes, and the rich man paid the taxes instead of him, the rich man could keep the land of the poor man. Omar Ravashi, said Ravashi, Omar Huna bar Nosan, Huna the son of Nosan told me, Koshi bar Meimar, I may ask the cash on this din that we said that even if the rich person paid the head taxes, he could keep the land. Im Kain, if so, Bitalt Yerushas Bnei Bechor. There won't be in these countries a din. In Persia, there won't be a din of, or in the countries where we're talking about, they won't have a din of Bnei Bechor gets double. Okay, so let's first explain that there is a din. Yaakov passed away and he has 2 kids. One is Reuven, who's a Bechor, and Shimon, who's not a Bechor, and he has 3 fields. So Reuven gets double. He gets, if he's 2 brothers, he gets 2 fields, and Shimon gets only 1 field. That's a din of Bechor Pishnaim. But this din only applies in possessions that Yaakov left when he passed away in his hands. Meaning, let's say he left the field, so they split it up that he gets 2 parts and Shimon gets 1 part. But let's say someone owes Yaakov money, he owes Yaakov a loan. So that's not called muchzik. It's not, when Yaakov passed away, he's not muchzik in that money, he's not holding that money. That money is roy. It's belongs to him, but it's not yet his right now. And in such type of possessions that the father left, roy possessions, not something that he's holding in his hands, there's no din that the Bechor gets double. He gets like any other brother 1 portion. And the reason is because it says in the Torah, anything that will be found to him when he died, but not something that he gets afterwards. So Amemra's kasha is that if you're going to tell me, you are telling me now that a person, when he doesn't pay his head taxes, everything's meshuba to the king until he pays the taxes. So if this person, Yaakov, passed away and he never paid his taxes of this year yet, so all his possessions really somehow type belong to the king, and therefore the Bechor, his son Bechor Reuven, should not get from those possessions double, because it's not muchzik, it's only roy. Only after they'll pay the father's taxes, then they'll get it back, and then it's like a loan type of thing, and therefore Reuven should only get like a normal brother, and therefore in this country that this is a din, Bechor, you won't have a din of Bechor getting double. So Amalei, he answered to him, if you ask me this kasha about the head taxes, afilu taskanami, everyone agreed that on the land taxes it's meshuba to the king, and if you don't pay it, you don't get. If someone else pays it, he could keep the land, and therefore it's meshuba to the king. Everyone agree on that. So, okay, you ask me about head taxes. I'll ask you back. How are you going to deal with land taxes? If this Yaakov passed and he didn't pay yet his land taxes, so l'chora Reuven the Bechor won't get double because he's only roy, because it's all meshuba to the king. What are you going to tell me? That how you have Yerushas Bechor Pishnayim, the Yoiv Tasko Meis, in the case of Yaakov, paid his land tax before he passed away, and then he passed away. So then it's, for this year, it's not Meshubad anymore to the king. Then Reuven will get double because it's muchzik, it's not roy, because he paid already his taxes to the king, and it's not Meshubad to the king anymore. So in such a case, you'll have the Bechor getting double. Ochinami says that also by us. You asked me about the head taxes. Ochinami, you want to know what case a Bechor will get double? Do you have cargo mace in a case where Yaakov paid already his head taxes and only afterwards he passed away, and therefore is nechosim and meshuba to the king? In that case, Reuven the Bechor will get double because it's nechosim that is muchzik, because they're not meshuba this year to the king because it was paid already all taxes. Therefore, the question you asked on me, I'll ask on you, and the teretz you're going to say, I'm going to say the same. Omar Ravashi, Omar Liuna bar Nosson. Ravashi said, Una the son of Nosson told me, Lisinu, I asked Lesofri the Rava, to the Soifrim, the ones who write the documents by Rava, Omrili, and they told me, Ilchasak Rav Huna Breder of Yeshua, that the halacha is like Rav Huna, the son of Rabbi Yeshua, that if the rich people paid the taxes of that on the head of the poor people, they could keep the lands of the poor people. And the Gemara said that's not true. Hossam, the reason why they said that this is the halacha is leukmi milseu domar. Because they gave lands to the rich people and wrote a document that belongs now to the rich people who paid the taxes on the heads of the poor people. So they wanted to make strong those documents. They said that's the halacha, but really said the Gemara, the halacha is not like that. And there is a difference between if you pay the taxes on the land, that then you can keep the land. If you pay the taxes on the head, you can't keep the head. Omar Ravashi, says Ravashi, pardachas. Pardachas means someone who's person who doesn't do any job. He's unemployed and he's not involved in anything. He just sits at home and he sits and smokes weed and watches TV. Mesayeh Mosa. If the city need to pay certain taxes, he needs to also pay. Says the Gemara, V'ani mili da'atzil tamosa. In a case where the king came to take the taxes from the city, and they came to this specific lazy person, and they asked him, pay us money. And the people from the city came and said, oh, this person, the lazy bum, he doesn't have a job, he doesn't have any money, leave him alone. So they left him alone and they went to the other people in the city, but the money they didn't take from him, they put on the other people in the city. So therefore this lazy bum needs to pay the money together with the other people in the city, but because of him, they have to pay more. Avol, and Diski, if they just never came to him because they never bothered with him, they said, oh, he's a lazy bum, doesn't have a job, doesn't have a penny to his name, we're not even going to bother asking from him money. And they asked from the other people in town more money, and they never asked from him, but the people in town never helped him in that. Siyata d'shmayu, he has a siyata d'shmayu that from Shemaim, that these people, the tax collectors, never came to him, and therefore he gained, they doesn't have to pay the taxes. Omar Ravasi, Omar Rabbi Yochanan. Ravasi says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Ametza, the border between two fields, Vachatzov is a type of plant that the roots go straight down, and when Yeshua split Eretz Yisrael, he planted it on all the borders between the Shvatim, that should be very clear, or between each one's Nachal, that should be very clear where did the land end, and that, let's say, between Reuven and Shimon, he planted his chatzov on the border, and then he goes straight down into the ground, and therefore it's very clear where the borders are. Yeah. So the border, so a ger passed away with no Yershim, and his nechosim is a hefka, and he has two fields, and in between the two fields is the border of this chatzov. So it's considered two fields, and if you did chazak on one of them, even though they tried being koine both, you can't be koine, you need to do a chazak on both. Avole inyon peo, legabe the din of peo. Peo is a mitzvah to give always when you have a field, to leave a corner of it to the anim, and you can leave a small corner, a big corner. But in a pair of it's not called a separation. That means if you have two fields next to each other with a border in between them, or chatzov in between them, and you want to leave for the anim pair, you don't need to leave two corners, one in field A and one in field B. It's considered the same field, and you can leave one corner of pair for both fields. And legabe tuma, we're going to see soon what does it mean that it's not a separation. So Rabbi Yochanan says that it's only a chilek legabe chazaka, but not legabe peh of a tuma. Ki also Ravin Omar Rabbi Yochanan, when Ravin came, so this before we said the name of Rabbi Asi in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, but when Ravin came, he said that Rabbi Yochanan said afilu lepeh of a tuma. Not like we said the opposite, that this din that it's a chilek for chazaka, it's also a chilek linyan peh that you need to give two corners, and linyan tuma, like we're going to see in Omid base what's relevant tuma legabe one field or two fields. Peo mahi, what's the din of peo that we're talking about? Etnan. We learned in the Mishnah the elu mafsikin lepeo. These, if someone has a field with this going in between, it's considered two fields, and you have to give peo twice. Anachal, the stream. Vashlulis is like in Hebrew, shlulit is like where the water gathers from the rain, like a puddle. Nunheim base v'der harabim, and a public place that's like Rishus Rabim, that's 16 amas wide. The derech hayochid, and a derech hayochid that's only 4 amas wide. And Rashbam explained that all these cases is zu ve'in tzorech loy mazu. That means we tell you, sorry, loy zu afzu. We start from the little chiddush and we say not only that, even the bigger chiddush. I mean, it's not only a big chilik like Rishus Rabim is a chilik. Even Rishus hayochid that's only 4 amas is also enough of a chilik. V'shvila rabim, even a path of a rabim, even though that's smaller than Rishus Rabim, v'shvila yochid, a path of the yochid, a kavua that's fixed. Bein b'imois hacham or bein b'imois hakshom. It doesn't matter if it's fixed for the summer days or for the winter days. So it's called a separation, and you have to give from each field pair separately. So we know now what the din of pair, what we're discussing over here, is the border of the chatz of a chiluk. Do you have to give one time pair or twice pair? Is it considered one field or two fields? Says the Gemara, tuma mai, what's the din of gabay tuma, that we want to know if it's considered one field or two fields? Says the Gemara, ditnan, we learned in the Mishnah, nichnas lepika, someone comes into the valley, b'moisak shomim, in the winter days, so this is the din. That sofek tuma b'rishus ayochid is tome, and sofek tuma b'rishus harabim is tor. Let me just see if I'm saying this right. So yes, a sofek tuma b'rishus hayochid is tome, and rishus rabim is tor. So bika, or valley where you plant the seeds over there. So in the winter days where everything's planted, people don't go there because they're going to ruin the plant where you planted. It's considered rishus hayochid. So sofek tuma should be tome. So someone went into a bika, into a valley, in the days of the winter that's considered rishus hayochid, and sofek tuma rishus hayochid is tome. The tuma besod ploinis. Now there's lots of fields in this valley, and there's a tuma. We know there's clearly a tuma in one of the fields. But Omar, And he says, "Alachti lemokim alos." I went to this valley. I don't know if I went and I touched the tumah, I was in the oil at tumah, and I'm tumah or not. I know I was in the valley, but I don't know if I was by the tumah or not. Am I tumah or not? Rabbi Loza says he's Torah. We're going to see soon why. The Chacham metamim. Chacham says tumah. It's Sofek Rishus. It's Rishus Yochid. It's Sofek tumah Rishus Yochid. The din of Sofek tumah Rishus Yochid is tumah, and therefore he's tumah. And what's shittas Rabbi Loza? The Gemara explains. The Mishnah continues. Shoyer Rabbi Loza would say Sofek bia Torah, Sofek magot tumah. Meaning, if we have one Sofek, did he touch it? Did he not touch the tumah? So we say Sofek Tumah if it's in Rosh Hashanah, it's Tumah, and therefore if we know he was in the field that the Tumah exists in, and we don't know if he touched it or not, Sofek Tumah Rosh Hashanah is Tumah, but if we know he was in the valley, but we don't know if he was in that field, it's two Sfeikes, because we look at each field separately. We say, maybe, we know the Tumah is in Levi's field, and we know he came to the valley, but maybe he was only in Reuven's field. He was never even in Levi's field, and even, so it's one Sofek, and even if he was in Levi's field, maybe he never touched the Tumah. Maybe he was in the part of Levi's field where the Tumah's not there. And therefore it's Sfeika. And when we have two Sfeikas, the din is it's Torah. So Rabbi Loza looks at each field separately. He doesn't look at the valley as one piece. He looks at each field separately. So that's what we're discussing. If a border is a separation for Tumah, it means someone came, there was two fields with a border in between or Chatzav in between. And if you're Rabbi Loza, if you come into one of them, and we know, let's say there's a Tumah in B, and a person went in, and we don't know if he went into A or to B. So we look at it as, if Chatzav is a separation, if a mate says a separation, we look at it as a Sfeika. It's not one field. Did he go into B? Maybe he went only into A. And even if he went into B, maybe he touched a tumah, maybe not. And therefore it will be a Sfeika if it's a chilik and it's considered two fields. But if it's considered one field, we know he went into the field. We don't know if he touched or not. It's only one Sofek. It'll be Tomeh. So that's a chilik legabe tumah. Said the Gemara, but Shabbos loy. We said before that Meitza and Chatzov is a chiluk legabe nichse ager, and we said about Peyo and Tumah now, but Shabbos not. We never said that legabe Shabbos it's considered a chiluk. And what's the chiluk about Shabbos? That if someone, there's a din, if you want shit, or we're going to see in a second, that if you took out the amount that you take out on Shabbos to be chayav chatos, I mean, you take out a gurgeres, it's a size of food, and you take out from Yishus Hayochid to Yishus Rabim, so you chayav. Misosh or chatos if shoygeg mezid. Now, if you took it half to one Rishus Rabim and half to a separate Rishus Rabim, or to a separate Rishus, so the din is, we'll see that the Shittu holds a Yopata. So the question is, legabe Shabbos, is this border between the two fields considered two Rishuyas? So if you have a Rishus Rabim and in between the border or Chatzov, is it considered two different Rishus Rabims? That if you took half a Gurgeres to this Rishus Rabim and half to this Rishus Rabim, are you considered Chayev or not? So we're saying, if we didn't say about Shabbos, say Mashma Dalegabe Shabbos, it's no hefsek, and it's all called one Rishus Rabim. And if you took out from Rishus Yochid half a Gregorius to this side of the border and half to the other side of the border, Yechayev. And Rava argued, and it says Afilu Linian Shabbos, even Legabe Shabbos, it's considered a separation and it's considered two Rishus Rabim. The Tanya says the Gemara, we learned in the Brayso, Oitzi Chetzi Gregorius, Rishus Rabim, Veinicho, someone took half a Gregorius. That's a Gregorius is the amount that you have for Itzo, and he took half from Rishus Hayochid into Rishus Rabim. They put it down there. And he went and he took out another half of Gregorius and he put it into Rishus Rabim. That means without knowing in between that it's Shabbos, without remembering in between, oh, this is forbidden to do Chayev. He's Chayev because there's no separation, and therefore it's considered that he took out a Gregorius to Rishus Rabim and he Chayev a carbon. If you brought it, you took out to Rishus Rabim half, and then you remembered, oh, it's Shabbos, it's forbidden to do that, and then you forgot again and you took out another half. So remembering in between a Shabbos separates between the two Maisim, and therefore it's Potter, it's less than Shia each time, and you're Potter. Rabbi Yossi argues, he says, Be'elem echad, if it's one knowing, that means he never remembered that it's Shabbos, and it's Bershus Achas, and he took it to one Rishus Rabim, then Chayev. But b'shtei reshuyos, if he took out, even though there was one el and they never remembered that Shabbos in between, they took half a gregarious to one Rosh Hashanah and half to different Rosh Hashanah, they're separate one from each other, potter. It's not considered Oitzal Rosh Hashanah because each Rosh Hashanah has its own din Rosh Hashanah, and therefore it didn't take enough of a shiur Rosh Hashanah Rosh Hashanah, and therefore is potter. And on that we argued before, do we say that it's a chilik when you have a border in between Rosh Hashanah or Chatzov, does it make it into two Rosh Hashanah or not? Did Rabbi Yossi say that's already two Rosh Hashanah or only literally two different Rosh Hashanah? Says the Gemara, V'amar Rabbah, says Rabbah, what's a chilik when Rabbi Yossi says there's a chilik between two Rosh Hashanah? What's considered two Rosh Hashanah? Says Rabbah, V'ushi yesh chiyuv chatas beineim. To make it two Rosh Hashanah that they're not considered one, it needs that in between there's a Rosh Hashanah. And means chiyuv chatas, if you take over there something, it's considered different Roshos. Aval Carmelis, if between the two Rosh Hashanah there's a Carmelis, Carmelis is a type of place where it's not Rosh Hashanah or not Rosh Hashanah, and if you moitzi from there to Rosh Hashanah, you're not chayev. It's not considered a separation between these two Rosh Hashanah, and you took half a gregarious to one and half a gregarious to the Rosh Hashanah that's passed after the Carmelis. It's considered the same Rosh Hashanah and Yechayev, even if you're Rabbi Yossi. Abaye argues, you should have filu Carmelis. Even if there's a Carmelis, it's considered a separation between two Rosh Hashanah. Aval Pisla, if it's only a piece of wood that's not very big and it's not considered a Rosh between itself, that's not considered chilik. A Pisla is less of a separation than a Carmelis. A Carmelis is a separation, but this Pisla is not a separation. It's a piece of wood that's not 10 tfachim high and it's not wide 4. Rava says even if there's a piece of wood that's not proper rishus, it's a separation between the two rishus rabbins, and if you took half a gregarious to rishus rabbim on this side and half a gregarious to rishus rabbim on the other side of the pisla, it's considered two rishus rabbins and your potter. That's the Rava letame, and Rava fits in with what he says elsewhere. The Omar Rava, rishus Shabbos, the din of Shabbos of rishus is rishus gitin domi. What did that mean? That if someone gave a woman his chotza, that to his wife his chotza, he was makna her his chotza to give her a get, to put in the chotza that she should be koina and she should be megureshes, and he wrote through her get and he fell on the pistol that's in the chotza. So Rava says that she's not megureshes because when he gave her the chotza, he gave her only the chotza without this piece of wood that's sticking out, and therefore that's a comparison of Shabbos to Gittin. The like Shabbos is Pisla is considered a Makom Choshev to separate between two Rosh Hashanah. So also this Pisla is considered the Choshev a place to separate that when he gave her the Chotze, he never gave her the Pisla, and therefore when the get landed on the Pisla, she's not koina the get and she's not Megureshes. Says the Gemara, what's it in? Ein sham loy meitzav v'loy chotzev mai. So we had the machlokes before. If you do a kinyan in a field, you need to do a kinyan in the whole field or enough in one corner. But here Rabbi Yochanan came and said on Nunhei Amud Aleph, at the bottom of Nunhei Amud Aleph, said that the meitza and the chotza is afsoka le'inyan nichsei ger. So what's the din? If there's no meitza, there's no border, and there's no chotza, and there's no plant that separates these two fields of the ger. So it's one field of the ger. How much of a kinyan do you need to do to be koine the whole field of the ger? So the Gemara Pirish Rav Marinus explained Mishmoy in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Kol shenikras al Shmoy. Anything that's called, if we call it one property of the ger. Echidomi, what's the case that's called on his name, on one name? Amar Papa the correlate bei gargrusa de plania. If we'd call it, the name of this field was. So the Aryeh says it means that if it's of one field that they water from the one well. I mean, when they talk about this well, they call it this field that he waters from one well, and they call it this field. They don't say his field, it's one field. So then we look at it as one field, and once you did the chazaka in one place, you're koina the whole field, and you don't need to do a chazaka in a few places. we should all be zoichet to remember this Gemara, learn it again, mikayim it, and be zoichet for geula shleima b'korev mamish. Thank you.